Hi, I'm Amanda Gelhaus, one of the creators of Girls Layout Ultimate. Today we'll be visiting part 2 of our series on vertical stack, talking about handler positioning and movement in the traditional 5-cutter 2-handler setup. Let's get started. So the reasoning you'll have 2 handlers out in this traditional setup is to allow for something called a reset. Essentially, this means when the person with the disc can't find any downfield options and needs to reset the stall count to a lower count, they'll look for this in order to do that. Your first option with a vertical stack reset, and my preferred one, is to place your off handler on the force side. Now, it's important if this person is placed on that side that they are angled back, so not even and not upfield of the person with the disc. The reason behind this is because of how the defense tends to set up on this handler. Usually the defender will have to choose, if the person is back, whether they're going to stay close to this person or if they're going to try to take away some of the force side lane and play further up. If the defense is playing further up like this, it is very easy for this person, without having any calls on them, to cut straight across in this slash cut to receive the disc on this break side and hit a continuation downfield. Now, if the defender is playing close to this person, there are still a couple of options. If they're playing close, it does open up this field a bit because you don't have that person hanging out in the lane. But you'll have to get a little bit more creative on your cuts as a handler. One of the options you can follow is to start with that slash cut to pull your defender and hopefully overrun you on this side, and then immediately cut back to get the disc essentially in the center of the field or slightly to the force side. You don't want to get in a situation where you're receiving the disc way on the sideline to get trapped. Next, let's talk a little bit about the alternative, which is setting up that handler on the break side. Here's the traditional break side extra handler setup in the 5-2 vertical stack. This extra handler will typically be set up about even with the person in the center with the disc. They don't want to be too far back because it will create too much distance for them to cover in their cuts and their fakes. They don't want to be set too far up to make sure that they're not encroaching on any of the break space. They can be set up a little further up, but not too far because they're going to be getting into the cutting lane if they do that. There are a couple of different options here in terms of a reset cut from this side. The first one is making a hard fake up at an angle to the disc and then coming back for this around. Now, this won't be very far. It's a very quick move, and it allows them to get the disc on that break side. But one of the cons is because it's not very far, the mark is likely to be on that player very soon. So it's important to, if you get the disc on that side, to make sure you look upfield immediately and are ready to make a continuation throw from someone in the stack. Now, the other option essentially goes the other way. So you'll have a fake into the backfield towards the swing or around for the break throw. And then you'll actually have a hard strike cut up through this space between the person with the disc and the front of the stack. Now, this is where stack spacing gets very important. If this front of the stack is too close to this handler, there will not be enough space to allow this to happen. If they're too close, you're going to have a pick called. But a big advantage of this strong strike cut is if this person gets the disc here with their defender trailing too far behind, that's known as power position. This thrower has the momentum of that strike cut with their throw to a big deep cut here, which is a very viable option if you choose to go with this kind of strike reset. Now, if they don't get the disc on this strike, typically what will happen, excuse my bad erasing skills, is they'll kind of filter back into the stack, or they can drop into that extra handler position depending on what your team wants to do there. And then this person will try to reset on the break on that side. So those are a couple of our handler options. Next, we'll talk a little bit about sideline resets. So let's say you got trapped on the sideline. It's not anyone's favorite place to be, but don't panic. There are ways to get out of it. So here we have our disc on the sideline with our other person, whether it's a handler or not, probably a handler, standing parallel to that person, not further back, just even with them. And then our front of the stack. These two positions are going to be crucial to get this disc off the sideline if we can't get anything upfield. Traditionally, this will be 1 to 2 stall counts looking upfield. If there's nothing there, that's when you need to initiate your reset by either looking at them or turning your shoulders. That depends on the players and how you best communicate. Just make sure that it's consistent and clear. So your first option here is going to be your other handler, so in the center of the field, occupying this space. As we talked about before on the break side, there are a couple of different options here. You can fake backfield and go up for a strike to hopefully get that power position. Or you can fake upfield and try to center it. Now, both have pros and cons per usual. If you get this strike cut and you don't get a continuation throw, it's okay that you move the disc forward, but you're also still on this far side, pretty close to the sideline. So be careful with that choice. Also here, if we cut up, fake into this strike space and come around for this break throw, that's going to be a slightly harder throw, but it potentially opens up this space off the front of the stack to completely swing the field. It's a little bit more difficult to execute from a throwing standpoint, but in terms of turning the field over and maximizing the usable space on the progressions, it can be an advantage for your team. So let's talk a little bit about if our middle person does not get open. So say our handler did a strike, did not get the disc. They're going to clear into the stack to make sure they pull themselves and the defender out of the active space so other players have a chance to execute their cuts to reset the disc. So once this player has cleared out and is starting to clear, that's when our front of the stack is going to come into motion. So they'll want to set up one of those options that was previously discussed. So they might be inching a little bit closer to that space where this person started from in the center of the field. Whatever choice this person didn't make is the choice that this second cut wants to make. One of the reasons for that is when this person went strike, it likely pulled this mark over to a strike position because their entire team was yelling strike at them from the sideline. If this person takes advantage of that by faking strike and going around, it's likely that there will be an easier break throw here. Now, if our handler had done a strike fake and then went to the break side but did not get that disc, likely this mark has shifted over to protect that break space because their sideline, again, was screaming at them, no rounds, no breaks, trying to get them to shift their positioning so that they're guarding this throw versus upfield because they know the thrower is looking that way. If this second person, as that person clears, if this second person is filtering down into that space and then fakes and does a hard strike cut, they've all of a sudden got this whole lane from the mark to receive that disc in power position. So whatever you choose to do, just make sure you're working together to really capitalize on what the defense is doing to make sure the disc is going where you want it to. So that concludes part 2 of our series on vertical stack. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to post them to our Facebook page. Other than that, I'll be back in part 3 to talk through some vert stack variations. See you soon.